Hello, this video will be on quizzes and answer scoring. It's a follow-up on the drag and drop quiz, which you may remember. Here we have several potential answers and we can select one of them or drag them inside the box. It tells us if it's right or wrong. And when we've got the right one, we can click continue and go to the next question and drag it in. In this case, we'd already answered it, so we already see the answer always. But a viewer had requested to only show the right answers at the end and how to kind of give points to students answering them and also analyzing which student got how many points. So let's do that in this video. First, I'm going to talk about creating quizzes. So you might be a teacher and have weekly quizzes. So you want to add questions to each quiz you create, and let's add functionality for this first. To do this, we have a new data type we're going to call it drag quizzes, because if you watch the other video, we called everything else drag answer or drag question. Okay, and each drag quiz will have a list of questions, because you know that every week has 10 questions per quiz, for example. So here we have a list of questions and tick list here. And then we want a drop down where we select the quiz we want to add questions to. Choose quiz. It's dynamic. We want to search all quizzes in the database and return them. And we want to show the creation date. We can format it so that we see the entire date, including the time. And then we want a place where we can create a new quiz. And when we click new, what we want to do is we just create a new quiz. And that's it. If we wanted, we could give each quiz a title such as Biology Year 1 or Biology Week 1 according to an input, but we just use the date here to be super simple and lean. Okay, so we have a place to choose a quiz, and now we want to add the question we select to the one quiz. So to do that, we want to here show all questions, and then to the one we click, we want to add that to that quiz. So we have an add button, but we only want to show the add button if it's not been added yet. To do that, when drop down choose quizzes values list of questions, when it doesn't contain this question yet, only then we want to be able to add it when it's not part of that quiz yet. And when it's not part of it, to add it, when we click plus, we want to make changes to a thing, which is the drop down choose quizzes value, and to the list of questions we want to add that question. So when we click plus, we add it to the quiz selected. And we want to do the reverse when we click minus. So we copy paste it with workflow, a button, and we make it now minus. They're behind each other, but this time we reverse it. So we want to only be able to click minus when the list of questions of the quiz select already contains it. And then we want to amend the workflow to remove that question from the list of questions of the quiz. If we wanted to just delete the question straight up from our database, we would just do delete thing, delete current sales question. Okay, so that's the first part. The result of this, let's just have a quick look. Showed that we choose a quiz, we don't have any yet, so we click new. Now we have a new one created just now, and we have a second one created a few seconds later. And we select this one and we click plus, plus, and those are part of this quiz now. We click minus to remove it. We want maybe a place to show the quiz selected. So we have a repeating group. What do we want to see? We want to see all questions of the quiz. So drop down choose quizzes values list of questions. And we just want to see the question text. So we do current sales drag questions, question text. Let's have a quick look at how this looks. So here we've got one question inside, one question, and for the other quiz, for example, we can have 3 questions. Okay, Okay, let's only work on one quiz for the moment, the newest one. Okay, we see there's slight overlapping with the continue button, so we move it. Now what we want to do, depending on if it's the right answer, we want to give the students points. To do that, we want to have points associated to each question. Best way to do this, to quickly edit it, is to add an input here inside the repeating group showing each question. And we want to make it type integer, and we want to make it auto-binding. And then if we go to our database and drag questions, we see we've got a question text and a right answer, but we've not really got a number of points yet. So number of points given will be a type number. So you can get 5 points or 10 points or 1 point if it's right. Maybe even the same for each question. In which case you can have as a default number always 1. And the field to modify is number of points given. Here we're doing something called auto binding. It asks us to define a privacy rule. We call it is logged in. We could also make it is. So when current user's admin is yes, this might be a good thing to do, to only make yourself the admin, so only you can change it, or we're just going to make it really simple. If current user is logged in, we can change it, because this is just for practice. And only then we want to allow auto binding, such as the number of points given. What this means is that as soon as we type into the input, we automatically save the input to that question. So let's have a quick look at that. Currently, we've got these 3 questions and they've got no points, but as soon as we put in 5, this question has 10 points and this question has 15. And then we refresh the page, we can see it's actually been saved. That's auto binding, where we had to only allow it if the user is logged in. So if it's not logged in, it wouldn't work. Okay, and now the way this quiz works is if you drag something in, then you can click continue, but we don't want to actually see if it's the right answer, so we have to change the workflow a little. To do that, let's have a quick look. We have a button. We always want to make continue button visible. And let's also change here what we're seeing. Okay. So currently we have a workflow. When the drop area has something dragged into it, we check if what's dragged into it is actually equal to the right answer of that question. Let's get rid of this workflow. We don't want to show a check symbol, and the other one we can just delete. So now all we want to do is when the drop area has anything dragged into it. So independent of if it's a right answer or not, we want to just save the answer to the page. So we intermittently save it. So we can call it answer selected. And this will be a type drag answer. And that will just be current workflow's drag answer. So whatever we drag inside it, we save it. Why? Because we just want to later save it to the database what the person dragged inside. Okay, we first want to do that, and then we want to also check if the answer is right or not. So we want to do is the right answer question mark. This is a state type, yes, no. So yes, no is state is just something we use to quickly save something on the page. So we put it yes, but only when the drop area's drag answer, so that's the right answer, is equal to what we dragged. So when it's the right answer, we set the state to yes, and when it's the wrong answer, we set the state to no. Okay, that's the first part. So when we're dropping, when we drag something inside, we save that we've dragged something and we save whether it's right or not. And then when we click continue, that's when we want to actually save it to the database. This is intermittently. We could maybe still like kind of first select this, but then select the next one. Okay, so to do this, we want to look at we first want to maybe change or display some text. So this text is not visible, and we only want it visible when the state answer selected is not empty. So that gives the user feedback that they've actually selected something. Let's not make it green, but kind of a neutral color like blue. Okay, now when we click continue, we want to save the selection to the user, because each user may drag something different inside, but at the end we as the teacher may want to see kind of which selections has one user made or how many points do they have. So to do that, we actually need a new data type, because kind of each answer will be unique to one user, because here we have one question: what color is the ocean? Here are all the answer possibilities. What is the price of oil currently? Here are all the answer possibilities. But one student might choose this answer, one might choose this one, and then for the next question they might again choose the same or something different. So therefore, when we click continue, we create a new, we don't only show the next question, but we create a new user answer. So we're just gonna call this drag user answer. And what we're gonna save is the quiz that one relates to. That allows us later to search for all answers one student gave for one quiz. So in this case, we have to assume that each question only belongs to one quiz, because then we can search for the one quiz whose list of questions contains the one question where we clicked continue on. And we can take the first item, because there's only one quiz which contains this question. The next part, we want to do answer selected. So when they drag something in, they select an answer. So this is a type drag answer. And this is part of the state, the answer selected. And then the next part is we want to also select the question. Which is just the question we click continue on. Okay, and finally, we want to also add points to the answer. Actually, we do that in the next step. The reason, so whenever we click continue, we create a new answer related just to the one user and that quiz and the answer and the question. How is it related to the user? If you go to data types and drag user answer, every user answer has a creator. So we actually, when we click continue, it will always be the person who is logged in who clicks continue, so we will know the creator automatically. Okay, now we want to allocate points to the answer if it's right. So to do that, we change the result of step 2, the user answer, and we give points equal to the drag question's number of points. So you remember here we gave each question a number of points, and when we click continue, if it's correct, we want to allocate points to that answer. But only when it's correct. But you remember when we dragged something in, we actually checked if it's the right answer. So only when it's the right answer we give points. A second option is also to immediately save it to the user. So we can have things to change current user, and the points could be, let's call it quiz points, because points we might have used for something else. Quiz points would be this user's quiz points plus the current question's number of points. So every time they check kind of how many points did they used to have and add the number of points of that question, but only again if it's the right answer, which we checked when we dragged something in. Is it the right one or not? Okay, so that's great. Anything else we want to add? Yes, we want to reset the states, because otherwise people can just click continue, but let's make it so we reset the state. So after we've saved everything, we can take the isRightAnswer and set it to empty, and answer is selected also to empty. And maybe we can only click continue when answer is selected is not empty, only then we want to do continue. Okay. That's the first part, and now the next part is we want to see all my answers. So for example, if you have answered 10 questions or something, you could see all your answers. To do that, we could have a group showing here, and here we can call it drag user answers, and which drag user answers we want to search for all drag user answers in the database where the quiz is equal to the dropdowns value and the created by is only me, so I only want to see my answers, and that should be fine. And then I only want to show this whole repeating group of my answers when the amount is exactly equal to the quiz's amount of questions. So when I've given as many answers as there are questions in the quiz, only then I want to be able to see my answers. So I take the drop-down choose quizzes values list of questions count. So I'm comparing how many answers I gave to that one quiz to that quiz's amount of questions. And only in that case do I want to make it visible. Okay, and here I want to show the question text. Question. I want to make a bit of space. Then next I want to see my answer. And finally, I want to see a right answer. Okay. And then I want to see points given. In this case, let's make the points given default to 0. So that means no points are given if I get it wrong. And then at the end, I want to show repeating group drag user answers, list of drag answers, points, so all points in that repeating group's answers and the sum of that. Or we also saved to the user, so similarly we can do current users points. Okay. Of course, this one might be different from this one. This one could be across all quizzes ever, whereas this one is just for one quiz because we just selected one quiz in the dropdown. Okay, so we check the right answer with the answer selected. Depending if it's right or not, we allocate points and create a new user answer to kind of save the question as well as my answer as well as the correct answer, and allocate points if it's right and see all points. This should already be quite useful. Let's have a look if I made any mistakes here or it worked. So here the newest quiz has 3 questions. I can't yet see my results, but I can drag stuff in. So I'm going to drag in the wrong one. Here immediately I see the right one. This is probably a mistake I made because I've already answered this question. Let's have a quick look. Here we're showing the answer text, but we don't want to show the answer text, but we just want to show the answer selected, not the right answer, because here this group was showing actually the right answer, but in the text we only show the answer which we selected, not the right answer. And here we saw only the right answer. So when I drag in yellow now, it should say yellow. That's great. Then only then we can click continue. And here we see the continue button always showing, so let's get rid of it always showing. We only want it visible when we've not yet selected, when we've already selected something. So let's go here again. By now we've actually already created an answer, so we have to quickly delete that because we click continue once. Okay, so when we click yellow, now we can go next. So this was wrong. Now I think this one was the right answer. We can click continue, and then I think here this was also the right answer. So we now can click continue, and I think that was it. There are no more questions. And now hopefully we would see our answers given, but we don't. Let's have a look what's happened here. We have to select a quiz. So we select this quiz now. And now we see here, what color is the ocean? My answer yellow, right answer is blue. And points given is therefore 0. What is the price of oil? My answer and the right answer, points given 10. So this works. And what do you like about bubble? Points given. So we have 25 points we see for that quiz and 25 points overall. So it works. What we now want to do is we want to be the admin. So here we just showed the results for one user, but let's instead imagine we're the admin and we want to see them for all users. So this would be the overarching. We just make the height increase. And here we have another repeating group. And there's a few different options. Let's only go with one of them. So again, we want a repeating group. We want to see all users. So we do a search for all users. And we want to show the username. And then we want to show how many answers do they have. To do that, we have to search in the database for the user answers, because each user, where the created by of the user answer is only that user. So here we're showing one user and we're searching for only that user's user answers, only for the quiz which we selected, not for every quiz. But we could of course do it for everything. And then we want to do a count. Number answers given. And then the next one, points. Here we want to again take all the user answers, but this time we want to take the points of all user answers and we want to sum them to see the total points for that user. And then here we want to show out of how many questions of that quiz. So again, we do a drop down, choose quizzes, values, list of questions, count. So we see how many questions have they answered out of the total questions, and here the points. And then maybe we also want to show the overall points, which is just current sales users quiz points. So this is points for just the quiz selected, whereas this is all points. Okay, and by the way, this whole repeating group where it shows the user answers for just myself, well, it can also, this group, we can actually drag it inside here. So we have a repeating group of a repeating group. I'm gonna just do that here. Copy and paste. It will be huge, so let's make it tiny. And then this, we change it to just 2 rows to give it some room here. And we always make it visible. And here we don't want to create it by current user, but current sales user. So it will show all the answers of that one user also. Okay, if we want, we can even make it not visible and put it in a group. And we can make the group not visible, but collapse. And when we click the username, when we click maybe the plus icon, I love the plus icon, then we can expand that group. How did we call this group though? Group user answers. Only when so when it isn't visible, we want to show it, and when it is visible, we actually want to hide it. Sorry for misspelling. User answer. Okay, that should work well. Okay, so now we're the admin, we're gonna see it. We have to first select a quiz because it always checks for that one quiz. And so here it shows it just for Jonathan. Barbara, I have to scroll down. Here only DiCaprio so far answered it. Still waiting for a new movie to come out. And here, however, we see the repeating groups. It's not the show hide, doesn't really work yet. So we have to check this here. The reason was the repeating group was hidden. So we see here all users. None of them have given any answers except DiCaprio. We click on DiCaprio and here we see individual answers of DiCaprio of one quiz. And now we want to imagine we're another user, such as Jonathan. So we can click on run as Jonathan if we logged in as Jonathan. We'd have to choose a quiz. And here now I can be Jonathan and get everything right because I'm a nerd. I love nerds, by the way. I hope you are one too. And so we get everything right now. We have to click continue. Then only now we actually see our answers because we've answered all 3 questions of that quiz. We see we have 30 points. And now we see Jonathan has 30 points and 3 out of 3 answers. Before it was 0. And we can click on Jonathan's answers for every question. Okay, so that pretty much shows you, and then of course if we had a second quiz we could go on that. Okay, so that kind of shows you how to mark a quiz. If you don't have drag and drop functionality, what you could instead do is whenever you click the continue button, it just checks kind of, so whenever you click one of the answers, it makes that answer automatically the selected answer. So instead of checking when we drag something inside, which answer is selected, we rather do it when we click a question. And then when we click continue again, it checks whether the answer selected is equal to the right answer or not, and then saves that answer to that user and gives them points if it's the right answer, or the user points if it's the right answer. And then we saw all user answers here in where we search for all user answers by that user, or here we saw all users. This might be for an admin page, and see their username as well as all answers that user gave for one quiz or all quizzes, the points they got for just one quiz as a sum, and then here we see all answers of one quiz and even the individual breakdown. Was the answer right or wrong? How many points did it get? And here we were able to change the amount of points we give for every question. Okay, so hope this extensive walkthrough will help you make your quiz for students or any kind of quiz website, or video quiz during a Zoom call. And I hope this video helped. For short tips on Bubble, check tiptester.com. Otherwise, please do like the video and subscribe to support this channel. Cheers!